Okay, Kerry here with Best of U.S. Agents. I got a email from Thomas Hovind, and he asked me a question it was relative to one of my videos where I made reference. I believe it was for my listing presentation, and I referred to a lot of numbers, and in fact, that's right, I sent out a letter that included my formula for selling homes, and in that letter I reference a lot of numbers, and those numbers were such that 60% of all home purchasers buy a house within 3-mile radius of their home, 22% come from the same state but outside the 3-mile radius, and 20% come from out of state. And I got those numbers from the National Association of Realtors about 3 years ago. I did some research to try to duplicate them, and they have some new numbers, but they deal on a broader scope and don't get down to the 3-mile radius. They just say within a 15-mile radius so many people buy their home. So that's where I got those. The other numbers then are more specific to neighborhoods, where I say that in your neighborhood there's a 50% probability that your house will sell, and or in some cases it's even worse than that, where I can screw it down to the price range, the neighborhood, and give people real statistics of the probability of their home selling in a given period of time. I get those from my MLS software, Paragon to be specific. And what I want to do today is I'm going to flip over to where I'm going to do my filming with my phone. And this is my little fuzzy bear that I use. I'm going to do another video on video equipment, and this is something you need to own. If you're going to do any filming outside with your phone, it really cuts down the noise of the wind, and it's a good microphone, and I'll do that probably next week. And then I'll also show you the little webcam that I use, and the tripod, and the whole thing. So let's cut over to the camera, the phone, that's going to do some work on Paragon to show you where I get the actual numbers, and hopefully you have Paragon, or you can adapt it to your MLS. So here we go. So here's how I go about getting the numbers that I use for how homes are selling. I go to this up here on my Paragon to resources, and it gives me a choice of statistical reporting. I go to statistical reporting, and I see that you can see here I've put in that I want the reporting from July 18 through July 19. I've entered here under class RE, which is residential, and then I've entered 3 neighborhoods. One is 200 is our best neighborhood, fast-moving homes. South of that is 240, that's North Shelby County, and west of it is Vestavia, Liberty Park, all upscale neighborhood. So at this point, I then ask it to generate me a report, and you can see then it is showing me that the total listed homes in that year's period of time were 3,034. Total number sold were 1,603, or 52.8%. 53% of the homes actually sold. The average price was $494,000. And they're saying there that the percent expired was 8.8 or 4.85%. But nonetheless, somewhere around 48% of the houses didn't sell, so they apparently stayed on the market. Now, I wanted to take this a step further, and so I go back and I'm now going to put in here a price range. And I'm going to start with a price range of $750,000 or more. And you're going to see that we have then I go and generate the report, and we'll have now we're showing we segregated out price, and now we had 472 listed, 159 sold, and that means that only 33.6% of them actually sold in that period of time, which gives you a very different look at a market. You have a substantial drop in the percentage of the homes sold. Now let's go back again and change the criteria to 1 million. And now we generate and we come down to 35.8, 36% of the houses sold. So what it's showing you is the higher you go in price, the less likely your odds are that you're going to sell a house in a year's time. And of course that can be affected by a number of different things. Then I want to take and show you one other thing. Now let's take that 200, that the most plush neighborhood out of the numbers, and look at this. You see that? We took the plush neighborhood out and we went to the neighborhoods that lay a bit further out in the community, and we're down to below 20% of the houses sold. 118 came to market, 23 sold. And that's for over $1 million homes. So we have a real eye-opening piece of information here for homeowners who are trying to sell luxury homes. When you say to them, yeah, there's only 118 houses listed on the market, but based on past history, only 23 of them are going to sell in your neighborhood. And then again, if you want to screw it down even tighter, let's leave it in the 260 range and generate a report. This is going to be mostly a particular gated community. And folks, this is eye-opening. 63 homes were listed for over $1 million in this gated community, and 6 sold. That's 1 out of 10. This is a real eye-opening experience, and if you're the agent that delivers this, good news or bad news, you're delivering real, honest information. And this is all available on your Paragon software, I know. But I'm sure it's available for anyone else's software as well. But that's how I generate the numbers. Now, I also have numbers, as I've mentioned, that there's a 60% probability that the person who's going to buy your house is going to live within a 3-mile radius of your house. That's National Association of Realtors information. 22% probability that they'll come from within the state, but outside the 3-mile radius, and a 20% probability that they'll come from out of state. That's where I generate the numbers. That's how I come up with it, and that's where the information comes from. Okay, that's real insightful. In fact, I'll share with you, I hadn't done it for a while, and it's gotten worse. What we're addressing there is the baby boomer sell-off. These big homes are owned by baby boomers who went through the phase of mine is bigger than yours and built these magnificent homes in gated communities. And now, because of the birth control pill and the subprime crisis, Generation X is not in a position to buy them, and it's not as large of a generation. And the millennials, because of the overwhelming debt that they're carrying from student loans, they're stretched to buy a $300,000-$400,000 home, so they're not selling. I have some good news on that parameter. I believe I know who's going to sell them, and I'll share that with you at another time, and how I'm marketing directly to who I think are going to be the saviors of the baby boomer sell-off. I think they're still going to have difficulty, and I would say you need to get it done before 2023, because that's when the baby boomer die-off starts, and their children are going to inherit their homes, and they're not going to want them, or they're not going to be in the same city, and that's when the bubble will burst. So that's where I get my numbers. I rely a lot on numbers. I think they can make you a better agent. And again, shout out to Thomas Hovind. Thank you for the question. And I would invite all of you. My email address is bestofushomes.kg@gmail.com. If you have any questions that I can address, that I can help you with, if I can, I will. And so fire them at me, and I'd love to do a video on them. Okay, thanks. I'll see you next week.